If you travel to Cuelim Hill in Goa, India, you'll find a sweeping, idyllic landscape that looks out over the Arabian Sea. But search for this exact same spot online, and you'll uncover a remarkably dark reputation. This is the Three Kings Chapel, widely known across the internet as the most haunted place in the state. Fall down the YouTube rabbit hole, and you'll quickly encounter the 6 p.m. rule. Ghost hunters and amateur investigators claim that if you dare to stay on the chapel grounds after the sun goes down, you're practically guaranteed to fall violently ill or vanish altogether. There are countless forums detailing modern paranormal activity here. Some visitors claim that random numbers painted on the church's exterior act as a live Ouija board, letting you speak directly to the dead. According to the lore, the haunting stems from a brutal colonial-era power struggle. 3 rival Portuguese kings supposedly met at this isolated chapel for a feast, attempting to negotiate a treaty over who would control the surrounding villages. This map of Portuguese dominions in India illustrates the stakes of that alleged rivalry. The myth claims one king poisoned the other two's food to consolidate his power. But once the deed was done, the surviving king was overwhelmed by guilt, or fear of a local uprising, and swallowed the poison himself. To this day, their restless spirits are said to be trapped on the hill. But here's where the narrative fractures. While internet tourists are terrified of this hill, the people who actually live in the shadow of the church don't whisper in fear. They actively mock the ghost stories. To understand the disconnect, you have to look at the actual historical record. This structure is officially the Chapel of Our Lady of Remedies. It was founded in 1599 by a single priest, Father Gonçalo Carvalho. There were no murdered Portuguese kings fighting over territory here. This painting reveals the true origin of the chapel's nickname. The 3 kings refers to the biblical magi, wise men bringing gifts to the infant Jesus. That biblical connection is the foundation of a very real, lively tradition. Every year on January 6th, 3 young boys from the surrounding villages dress in royal robes and crowns to ride horses up the steep paths to the chapel. They're celebrating the Feast of the Epiphany. It's a massive, joyous community event meant to retrace the journey of the Magi. Thousands of locals gather for brass bands, music, and a bustling market filled with food and merchants. The festival is chaotic and vibrant, but at exactly 6 p.m., the market packs up and everyone heads home. Over the years, outsiders noticed this strict closing time and, entirely devoid of context, twisted it into a sinister, supernatural curfew. The real reason the locals clear out by 6 o'clock is entirely practical. Cuelim Hill is steep, isolated, and has absolutely no streetlights on its winding paths. Navigating it in pitch blackness is a major safety hazard. But what about the modern ghost hunters? You'll find Reddit threads describing late-night trips to the chapel where tourists were aggressively chased away by unseen forces at 2 in the morning. Those encounters are entirely real, but aren't paranormal. Because the hill is so isolated, it became a hotspot for vehicle robberies targeting parked cars. The terrifying entities kicking stargazers off the hill are actually uniformed police officers on routine security patrols. Even the oldest, most deeply rooted local legends have a grounded explanation. For decades, villagers reported seeing glowing, floating apparitions slowly ascending the dark paths of the hill long after midnight. The source of those floating ghosts was a matter of economics. During the feast day, visitors would toss coins to the boys riding the horses. Late at night, impoverished village children would hike up the hill in the dark to scavenge for the dropped money. To stay warm in the cool night air, they wrapped themselves entirely in thick, pale blankets. Today, the elders of Cuelim know exactly what really happened, yet they actively allow the haunting rumors to persist. A terrifying story about poisoned kings and vengeful spirits is a highly effective way to keep rowdy teenagers and vandals away from an ancient heritage site. When you strip away the clickbait, this specific ghost story operates as a community-driven security system. It protects an isolated historical site completely free of charge, leveraging human psychology instead of barbed wire. The Three Kings myth has a fascinating life cycle. It began as a sincere religious festival. Then it evolved into a pragmatic safety warning to keep local kids off of a dangerous dark hill. Finally, thanks to the internet, it mutated into a viral trap for dark tourism. This cycle highlights how urban legends and ghost stories actually function. They are rarely about the dead. Instead, they are practical tools designed by and for the living. A pragmatic community need generates a supernatural narrative, which in turn controls behavior and preserves local culture. These myths act as invisible fences. By tapping into our primal fear of the unknown, they successfully enforce local boundaries, keeping outsiders at bay and protecting a community's most vulnerable spaces. Long after the viral rumors fade, the people of Cansalam will still be climbing this hill for the same reason they have for 4 centuries. The endurance of Cuelim Hill is rooted in a living tradition, proudly celebrated in the daylight.